What if your hormones are the CEOs of your body trying to guide you so you can experience more flow and well being? Midlife Butterfly, a woman in the sacred in between. She's not who she once was, and not quite who she's becoming yet. She's unraveling, awakening, remembering. She's navigating life transitions, divorce, loss, reinvention, moves, with a burning desire for freedom, joy, and soul-led living. She feels the pull to rise, to fly. She is no longer afraid of her own wings. In this episode and Midlife Butterfly, we have Ashley Rocha, the founder and CEO of Ladywell, a hormonal health supplement company for women. She is a hormonal health expert, entrepreneur, and a mother of two. This is a yummy topic, so let's dive in. Ashley, I would like you to continue introducing yourself. I'm very glad that you are here. And also, if you can tell me a bit about your story of what brought you to this path of talking about hormones for women for their health and well-being.
Yes, so I began Ladywell. It's really a mission-driven company based on my own life experiences. I struggled with hormones for decades. Ever since puberty, I was thrown into this cycle of monthly, just gigantic mood swings, really quick to anger, so much period pain. I was taking 20 Advil a day. This went on for 2 decades. Whenever I went to my doctor, was always told hormonal birth control was the solution, or SSRIs, which are antidepressants. And I knew I wasn't depressed because, it went away after I got my period. And I was also just led to believe PMS was normal and it was part of being a woman. I just need to put up with it. And though I felt like I was abnormal in my experience of being so moody, I just felt like, oh, this is just me and my personality. And you just start to make up stories about yourself. And then it was my mid-30s when I tried to get pregnant, and I was a little bit slow to get pregnant. And I was like, oh, okay, I really want to have babies. What's going on here? And so I really started focusing on my health and looking at my hormones, because I knew fertility and hormones are related. And so I am a herbalist. I studied herbalism, and I knew the power of the plant world and plant medicine. So I started looking into the plant world to solve my issues, because with my doctors for balancing my hormones. So I started working with a naturopathic doctor, which was extremely helpful. And I started finding herbs and functional mushrooms and eating right and just changing my diet. And finding these herbs, I put together formulas that really changed my life. I was able to get rid of my PMDD within about 6 months, something I'd had for so many decades that affected my relationships, my productivity at work, just my overall happiness. And so that was just a game changer for my quality of life in general. And then I was able to get pregnant. I have 2 baby boys now, and without having to do IVF or anything like that, just naturally. And I began Ladywell because it took me so long to find these solutions. And these solutions are so important. I want to make them accessible, easy to find for women. Hormonal health is really misunderstood. It's barely talked about. We're talking about it a lot more now, which is amazing. When I was growing up, we didn't talk about our hormones. We didn't know what they were. So I want to just continue educating women about their hormonal health, what symptoms to look for, how to fix them through plant-based medicine, diet, exercise, and all that, and just improve women's lives through their health.
Wow.
And Ladywell is really about targeted life stages, because we're all on a hormonal health journey from puberty to menopause. Whether we like it or not, our hormones dictate a lot about our health and who we are as women. They control everything. I like to describe hormones as the CEOs of your body. They're in charge. They're like the internet connection. So if your internet's wonky and going in and out, these messengers aren't going to be sent through your bloodstream, and things are just going to go awry and not work properly. And you're going to feel a variety of symptoms. It's not just necessarily going to be about your period. You're going to feel fatigued. You're going to have all these things that could fall out of place. And so if your internet connection, your hormones is not working properly, things are going to go awry in your body. So it's important that your hormones are online and functioning.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that, for sharing your experience. I can't believe that it took you 6 months to override your experience of 20 years. That's quite insane.
I started eating more protein and stabilized my blood sugar. drinking less caffeine. So lifestyle changes too. Yeah.
Oh, other changes. Okay. Yeah. To tell you the truth, I don't know much about hormones. As you said, it's kind of, I think I getting more interested now that I'm 47. Eventually, I'm gonna get into perimenopause. So I'm kind of like, okay, so eventually I need to know more about this. But as you said, yeah, we've been living through it through our whole lives as women, and it's important knowledge because it's something that you said is our CEO of our bodies. And so I would like you to share like kind of like the hormones 101 for us. Like, can you give us like a simple breakdown of the key hormones that shapes a woman's life and how they influence our different stages, as you said, like when we are teenagers and how as we are growing and then up to menopause or postmenopause.
Yeah, so we have a lot of hormones in our body. The sex hormones, the important ones that we can talk about are estrogen. Estrogen regulates mood, your menstrual cycle, your reproductive health, and this peaks in the first half of your cycle, and it really helps maintain bone density and skin health. And then
Okay.
progesterone is known as the calming hormone, and this supports pregnancy and helps balance estrogen, and this peaks after ovulation. So if you ovulate and you have sex then and potentially get pregnant, the progesterone will help support the pregnancy and carry that through. Testosterone, we hear this a lot about men and their testosterone, but we also have testosterone, and this supports libido, muscle mass, energy levels. We have cortisol, which you might hear about, which is the stress hormone. It helps the body respond to stress, but can also cause issues if consistently elevated. So it's an important hormone because it's the stress response, the fight or flight. We need that to survive in the world. But if it's constantly elevated, then we're going to be in a state of just like chronic stress, and that's going to really wreak havoc on our other hormones and fertility as well. If you're trying to get pregnant, stress is horrible for that. So cortisol is bad for that.
Mhm.
There's things that spike your cortisol too. Like if you drink coffee on an empty stomach in the morning, your cortisol will spike. If you do too much cardio, that spikes your cortisol. So there's other ways other than just stress that can spike your cortisol.
Mhm.
Insulin's another hormone that regulates your blood sugar and your energy. Insulin resistance can impact your weight and overall health. So there's a lot of times in women's life where especially during perimenopause, like we gain weight around our hips and thighs. Hormonal weight is usually around your hips and thighs or your stomach, like that spare tire. So if you have a hard time losing weight, even though if you're working out and eating right and you just can't lose those extra pounds, that can be hormonal weight, and that can be a sign of a hormonal imbalance. And then we have thyroid hormones that regulate your metabolism, your energy. And at different points in your life, these different hormones are important. During your puberty and menstrual years, estrogen and progesterone and testosterone are all going to be really important. During perimenopause, like those hormones are going to start to wane and they're going to kind of go crazy. And that's what causes the chaos in your life because your hormones are in a state of chaos because you're going through reverse puberty basically, and they decline unevenly sometimes, leading to irregular cycles, PMS type of intensification and mood changes. So yeah, they're your hormones come into different importance at different time. When you're
Yeah.
pregnant, trying to get pregnant or pregnant, you're gonna have different hormones going to play there. Like oxytocin is the love hormone that bonds the mom and the baby. So that's going to be released during or after pregnancy and during breastfeeding and that kind of time. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned that during perimenopause, like we get a bit more of, fat in our bellies and hips. How can we know if it's like kind of like normal on a way, because we're going through that period, or if it's actually an hormonal unbalance in there? How can we know?
During perimenopause,
Yes.
yeah, I think you can expect it's something like 80% of women will have menopause symptoms. So I think it's you can't expect not to feel different during perimenopause and into menopause. At every life stage, you're going to feel different.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So it's really common to gain weight during that period. But yeah, and it's hard because you're becoming a different person and you look back at the person you were and you're like, I want to be that. I want to gain the body that I used to have. So supplements can help you with your hormonal balance and managing your hormones. And there's HRT, hormone replacement therapy, that can also help you. And so that can help with that weight gain and, reducing that
Yeah.
and managing that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you for that. There's still a lot of like shame and misinformation about the hormonal changes, and more in women, right? Like if you're in PMS, like they put you like a big X, because if your mood changes a lot, and then when we get to explode of this like that or this like this, what are some of the biggest myths about the woman's hormones, and how can we rewrite that narrative of those myths of because of our hormonal changes?
Yeah, we're just told to push through in life in general. When women are expected to be resilient, not show any weakness. Hormonal shifts might be seen as weakness. But what I want to say is PMS and PMDD, hormonal imbalances such as that, not normal. If you're having like really bad perimenopause symptoms, you can fix these things. We're told
Mhm.
that it's just part of our journey and that we need to put up with the uncomfortable symptoms or the pain. And that's
Yeah.
just not true. PMS and mood swings are dismissed as being emotional. Like there's so many jokes about PMS, right? Like
Yeah.
PMSing, like it's been turned into a joke.
Yes.
But our fluctuating hormone levels really directly energy and brain chemistry. It's biology. It's not drama. And so we just
Mhm.
kind of just minimize that as a society because women's health is not prioritized. Men's health has always been prioritized. There's a lack of
Mm,
education about women's health, and
yeah.
like during studies, they when they tested it on women and men, they found women's hormones to overcomplicate the tests and skew results. So they focus on men during for studies, research studies, and that
Okay.
just shows you how much they just minimize women's hormones or just didn't care. Of course, our hormones are more complicated, so that makes things more complicated,
Yeah.
and it's worthy of paying attention to because women are half the population, so we should have the same support that men do.
Of course. Yeah. You mentioned about PDD. What is that? I haven't heard about that.
So there's PMS, PMDD, and PME. Actually, there's three things,
Okay.
but
Okay.
PMDD is PMS like really hyped up on steroids. Like, so if you
Okay.
have the really intense emotional symptoms of PMS are heightened, so really easy to anger, intense mood swings. You can have depression, anxiety, like those emotional symptoms can still have PMS symptoms like breast tenderness, bloating, painful periods, but it's just like really bad PMS. I mean, it's
Okay.
not PMS, it's different than PMS. It's more
Yeah.
of a mood disorder.
Okay.
But if you feel like you have PMS that's getting in the way of you living your life, if it's turning you into a different person and you have regret after your period came, you're like, who was that person? That's definitely a sign of PMDD. And there's no like a blood test for PMDD or anything like that, but how you can diagnose PMDD is tracking your cycle and it's symptom based. So seeing where symptoms land during your cycle. And so, yes, if you suffer from PMS, you think it's PMS and it's just really intense emotionally, it's probably PMDD. And then PME is about if you have, like, we can be confused if we're depressed and it's only around our period, that's related to your hormones. But if you
Okay.
have depression in general, that's where PME comes in, and it just exasperates existing conditions. Like you could become even more depressed during your cycle, during the second part of your cycle, or you might have even more anxiety. So it just takes existing psychological symptoms you might have and exasperates them.
Okay.
Mhm.
How important it is for women to track our cycles?
Oh my gosh, it's the most important thing I think for us to do because it gives you so much data about yourself. It gives you really insightful information that you can use to plan your schedule. our energy fluctuates throughout our cycle dramatically. Our creativity peaks at certain points. We want to
Yeah,
socialize more.
during ovulation time, right? We're
Yes,
more
and
creative. Yeah.
yeah. And then at the beginning of your cycle, you want to socialize, you want to get out there, you have more energy. And then the last part of your cycle, you're a little bit more introverted. You should adjust your workouts, like to be more calming workouts. It's probably not a time like you want to plan a big, like if you're doing a presentation, like you might not have that, charisma as you would in the beginning of your cycle. And then also, it gives you data for yourself. If you ever want to go see a doctor, like you'll have the data of like your symptoms that you've been tracking, and you'll know you can start relating things to your cycle. Like, for example, I was every month my period snuck up on me, and I was always like, oh my God, what just happened? I
Okay.
never tracked my cycle for 2 decades, and I was always surprised whenever my period came. But if I had been tracking my cycle, I would have started to see these that my symptoms were coming up at the same time every month and these trends. And I think I would have gotten to the point quicker with fixing my hormones if I really kind of saw these trends happening, where I was just
Yeah.
like totally in the dark and ignored it. And then when you try to get pregnant, you of course need to know when you're ovulating. In high school, I think we're led to believe that you can get pregnant any time in the month, but that's just so untrue. Like you have a fertile window and it gets smaller and smaller as you age. So
Mhm.
when you're tracking your cycle, like you'll have so much historical data to go off of, and you'll be able to better anticipate your ovulation window, your fertility window. And if you don't want to get pregnant, that's also equally as important, because then you'll know when to have sex and when not to have
Oh, I
sex to
know that.
avoid pregnancy. So all this data about your body is really important. Your period is your fifth vital sign. If you're having skipping periods or periods are irregular,
Mhm.
you'll know if you're tracking your cycle, and that's a red flag that there's something off in your body, and you shouldn't really ignore it. I know it's like, I didn't get my period. That's kind of a nice thing for some women, but it's also like your body telling you that something's not functioning correctly. So you should listen to those and fix those before these symptoms just snowball, and maybe eventually want to get pregnant, and like you didn't fix your hormones like when you're in your 20s, and so you're in a harder place.
Yeah. I actually started like tracking my cycle. This has been like 4 or 5 years ago when I learned to do this, the program that I was taking. And it was great for me to really understand like how these different phases we go through, and then as you said, to understand my body, but at the same time to understand my fluctuation with like with mood, with productivity and all that. And I believe that when we get to understand that, we get to be more compassion to ourselves, because as you said
Yes.
before, like everything is focused, or well, yeah, in more in men because of the studies and everything. But as you said, we are half of the population or probably more in this world, and getting to know that, it's, I consider now that is, it has to be like it at school. We need to learn this since we since we get our period. Like on my case, like talking about sex and periods and stuff, the menstruation at home was kind of like a taboo. I only have one conversation with my mom. I don't know how it was for you. So unfortunately, it is a lot like that for women, that we don't have the information, but it's because it's not given to us. We don't have that kind of culture towards knowing our hormones and our bodies better.
Yes, we are not empowered with that knowledge at all in
At
high school,
all.
or like, or to be fair, my mom doesn't know this information either. So it's just been, they can't pass it down if they don't know it. And that's why I want to
Yeah.
change the dialogue now, so our next generation of daughters have access to this information.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I love that. And it's interesting that, well, you have two little boys, but still,
I was
eventually.
really hoping for that daughter, but the universe gives you what you need.
Exactly. I mean, eventually you might have, then
Yes, I'm hoping for a daughter one
stepdaughters, or
day.
so
Yeah.
that's how it goes. Yeah. So, um, can you tell us what actually happens hormonally in our 40s and 50s? And how can we transition through perimenopause and menopause with ease and grace?
Yeah. So, um, perimenopause can begin as early as 35.
Oh.
which feels really young to a lot of women. I know
Yeah.
people are like, no. But yeah, so but generally in your 40s is when you go into perimenopause, and in your 50s. Menopause or perimenopause can last as long as 10 years and usually does. And it can be a time of chaos with your hormones, and you're going to feel different throughout that whole time. As I said, estrogen and progesterone fluctuate and decline unevenly, and this is what leads to all these symptoms. Your cortisol levels will increase, which is the stress hormone, and this can rise and lead to fatigue and weight gain around the belly. It
Mhm.
could be difficulty managing stress. Perimenopause symptoms are hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, brain fog, sleep disturbances, super common. And these begin to appear as your body transitions towards menopause. And there's way more symptoms than that. There's like 50, 100, like it depends on
Mhm.
what woman you are. Like it's so unique to women, each
Yeah.
person. But your testosterone will decline, so your libido will be affected, which will affect your energy as well and your muscle tone. That's why as you go into perimenopause, you should start lifting weights as a form of exercise and focus on that
Mm.
more so than focusing on doing cardio, which will peak your cortisol, but also like you just need to be gaining that muscle mass.
Yeah.
Yes. And then what menopause is menopause is marked by a year without your period. So once you don't have your period for a year, then you'll know you're officially in menopause.
Okay, it's 1 year then.
Yep.
Mhm. Okay, thank you for sharing that to know what can we kind of like expect in that. Um, how do hormonal fluctuations impact our emotions, our confidence, our mental well-being through our lives? I mean, you already mentioned something, but some things here and there, but yeah, like about our confidence and our mental well-being. What other, yeah, what
Yeah.
impact?
I mean, I think it completely affects your mood. And well, I mean, talk about confidence first.
Yeah.
We're talking about how hormones affect your body and how you physically look. There's something
Mhm.
called cortisol phase, where if you have too much cortisol, like you'll have this like kind of moon phase, and it's just less pretty than your normal phase. So
Okay.
there can be physical symptoms that show about hormonal imbalance, like acne, cortisol face, weight
Okay.
gain. So dry skin, oily skin, like it affects your beauty as well. And I think people like respond to things that like, we're all vain on some level. We don't want to age quicker. Like it also can like wrinkles, right? So
Yeah.
if your hormones are out of balance, it can cause things like that. And that's not something anybody is going for.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it definitely affects confidence in that way. And then your emotions are heavily affected by your hormones. Like as I was saying with the PMDD and perimenopause, like
Yeah.
your emotional state is just so linked to your hormones. It's almost just one. I had such an emotional roller coaster my whole life because of my hormones, and it truly affects you. And with women, we're in this cycle, and our hormones are gonna fluctuate through the month, and so it was our mood. And I think we should embrace that and celebrate that. We're not men.
Yeah.
Men's hormones set every 24 hours, so they don't have the same like range of moods as we do. Low estrogen or progesterone can lead to irritability and mood swings and emotional instability, affecting how confident and capable a person might feel. High cortisol will create chronic stress and lead to feelings of overwhelm and insecurity, making it hard to feel emotionally balanced or confident.
Mhm.
And then low testosterone will lead to fatigue and lack of motivation and reduced sex drive, which can really affect your confidence and relationship and your self-image. So all these hormones are doing different things for a body,
Yeah.
and imbalances in them or a lack of them will lead to different things. Overall, will just affect your well-being.
Mhm. Is it normal to be like uh hormone unbalanced? Like in general or
I think yeah. Well, hormonal imbalances are common.
okay.
It's about 80% of women experience hormonal imbalances at some point in our life. So if you're
80%.
experiencing PMS and perimenopause, I would say it's I would say it's impossible not to experience some kind of hormonal issues throughout your life. We have a long,
Mm,
long life, hopefully, if
yeah,
you're lucky,
exactly.
and things will change. You go through different life stages. You might have times of having PMS, you might have times of no PMS. You're going to be in your fertile years, maybe you're trying to get pregnant. You're going to have different life stages and different struggles. There'll be times you're eating better, exercising. Sometimes you're going to be eating poorly. So, you might
Yeah.
have hormonal imbalances come into play there. You might have times of stress where you're feeling really burnt out from work. And that's really bad for your hormones. So you're going to have different journeys in your life. But hormonal imbalances are really common. Our food system in America is really not set up that well. Our food's nutritionally depleted. So we don't get enough of the things we need through our foods a lot of the time, which is really
Yeah.
unfortunate. And we're all like overworked and stressed out. And so that stress is leading to, spiking cortisol, not getting enough sleep. So our lifestyle habits really put us at a disadvantage to having balanced hormones. And that's where these symptoms begin to sneak in.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah,
And
and it
then
makes, yeah, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, and we also are just like surrounded by endocrine disruptors. And I think it's important to understand that endocrine disruptors are so bad for your hormones. And what endocrine disruptors are, like, for example, artificial fragrances, plastics, things like that. Those are things that
Oh,
will affect your hormone health and your endocrine system. And that will lead to hormonal imbalances, fertility issues is really common. So you want to, you want to get rid of your nonstick pans. You want to avoid as much plastic as possible, even though I know it's really hard to do, but like you don't want to eat out of plastic containers that have been heated up, like water bottles that like the temperature fluctuates in. Receipt paper, like we're handed receipts a lot of time, but the coating on that paper is really toxic.
oh,
Scented
wow.
stuff like your scented laundry detergent or skincare products. You want to use clean skincare because your skin is your largest organ. That stuff will
Yeah.
sink into your body. I had to stop burning candles. Like that was like my kind of like my little haven at night for so long before I realized all the toxins that are in those with the scents.
Oh,
So
wow.
once you start realizing these things and cutting these things out of life, you're gonna be in better position. We can't all do everything. Like we can't avoid endocrine disruptors completely, but you can control as much as you can.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's, yeah, it makes me think a lot of different, like which habits do I have that I might actually shift so I can avoid them. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, or as you said, our skin is our biggest organ, and taking care of it, like at a core level, it's very important to know what kind of products we're putting in and and all that. So yeah, what are some practical ways that we can do to manage to keep a hormone balance by keeping a normal level of cortisol and stress? What are some practical ways that we can use?
Yes, I think it's hard to say, well, first of all, reduce as much stress as you can in your life, but a lot of us have a really hard time doing that. Life is stressful. You really just can't avoid it. That's why I incorporate adaptogens into all my products. And so I recommend all people take adaptogens. They're so great for managing stress and helping your body build resilience to stress because stress is going to happen, but it's how we react to that, which is the important piece. So if something stressful comes into, if you get laid off at work, for example, if you're taking adaptogens, your body's going to have a better reaction than if you're just like unhealthy and like in a state of disarray. Your body's going to have, instead of like having a clenching, like negative feeling, it will help build resilience and have a better effect. So it won't be as unhealthy on your body. And adaptogens help you adapt to something. Like say your cortisol is too high, it'll help bring the cortisol down. If your cortisol is too low,
Okay.
it'll help raise the cortisol. It's kind of like this magical thing in the world that helps you just stay in balance.
Okay. Adaptogens. Okay. Make a note on that one.
Yeah. So we use ashwagandha in our daily hormone balance, and that's an adaptogen, and it really helps you build this resilience to stress, and it also help you sleep. Adaptogens are good at that as well. And we
Okay.
use shatavari is also a great one, the female ginseng. So yeah, I recommend that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Many women like feel more in tune with their intuition at different times in their cycle, or probably in midlife transition or something. Uh, and do you think like hormones also play, yeah, a role in there for us to be more connected to our intuition during certain period in our menstruation cycle, or at, I don't know, like in our midlife, or how do you see that?
Yeah, I think hormones can significantly influence how in tune we feel with our intuition through our life stages, particularly during different phases of our menstrual cycle or in midlife transitions like perimenopause and menopause. Hormones can affect our emotions, our energy level, and even our ability to connect with our inner selves. So, yeah,
Hmm.
I definitely think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So it what well, I don't know, like how I feel it personally, like I feel like I told you before, like more creative or more tuned in sometimes, like when I am in my ovulation period, but then also like
Mhm.
when I'm just before that, like I have more energy, and sometimes yeah, I have more kind of like downloads or information like to connect through my intuition. What's your experience on that?
Yeah, in your follicular phase, which is days 1 through 14 of your cycle, the first half of your cycle, when
Yeah.
estrogen is rising, many women will feel more social, energized, optimistic. This may lead to greater clarity in decision making and a stronger connection to intuition.
Yeah.
Estrogen can help enhance mental clarity and creativity, which can make more women feel connected to their inner voice. So
Hmm.
maybe that's a good time to make a big decision in your life. And then ovulation is peak estrogen and testosterone levels during ovulation. And these can feel like increased confidence and assertiveness and energy. So you might feel more empowered and aligned with your instincts. So maybe also a great time to make a decision. So trusting your gut feeling during that time. And then
Yeah.
your luteal phase, which is the second half of your cycle, like day 15 through 28. This happens after ovulation when progesterone is rising and estrogen starts to decline. This phase can bring feelings of calmness and nurturing, but also may lead to emotional sensitivity, as we talked about, but
Hmm.
also intuition. So you might feel your intuition here might be more introspective and a deeper
Yes.
wisdom during this phase.
Hmm.
Um, though you might have some mood swings going on as well, but you'll feel more reflective of your inner world. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Well, you mentioned something about this before, but I want you to give more clearer as we are in midlife, and then we want to have still our sex drive and pleasure. So, what role hormones play in this?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, our sex drive is linked to our hormones. It's how we make babies. It's genetic, it's DNA, it's science. For young women and those in their 20s and 30s, hormone balance is really important for supporting your estrogen and testosterone levels with nutritious foods and healthy fats and regular exercise. Libido is really important at every stage, but I was just going through the different life stages. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
will help you in your 20s and 30s. And then for women approaching menopause, supporting your estrogen, progesterone, like incorporating phytoestrogens like flaxseed, soys, and legumes to support estrogen and magnesium rich foods. Magnesium is really important. I think everybody should take magnesium supplement, but this can
Hmm.
help balance progesterone and reduce symptoms like anxiety, which can dampen libido. Adaptogens, like to bring those up again, are
Hmm.
great to help
Yeah.
balance cortisol, reduce stress, and then also support a healthy libido. Libido is really important, especially if you're trying to conceive, right? You need to want to have sex, and usually, like the trying to get pregnant can really put a damper on your libido. It turns something that should be fun into a job, and it's really stressful.
Mm.
So hormonal balance can make just making sure hormonal balance can make sure that your libido is in a healthy place. And there are libido enhancing supplements too. But if you just feel like you have no sex drive, that's a sign of hormonal imbalance in general because we should have a healthy sex drive even as women. Like even as a woman, we can want to have sex and you
Of course.
should. So yeah, so libido is important and it's a sign of hormones. Like it's a sign of things are working or not working in your body.
Okay.
And during perimenopause, like you also have libido problems. So these can happen throughout your whole life, and supplements are definitely a solid way of dealing with this kind of stuff.
Okay. And what are some, in the case, like practices that will be besides the, as you said, like taking supplements and all this, are they some practices that we can do? I don't know if it's, I guess, exercise help or what else can we do besides taking supplements to support our hormonal balance?
Oh yeah, so you can't just take a supplement and like you can't take a pill and expect it to fix your whole life.
Yeah, definitely not.
I mean, especially with natural solutions, which are better on the body anyways. We're not pharmaceuticals, so it's not like an Advil. It's going to immediately alleviate your headache. First of all, supplements do take time to begin to work. Like you should dedicate 3 months to getting the full effects of adaptogens and herbs in
Oh,
your
okay.
body to judge whether they're working. But
Mhm.
you also have to have a nice lifestyle around it and be eating right, like eating enough protein. Stable blood sugar is important. You don't want to be abusing caffeine and alcohol. Like caffeine's bad for your cortisol. Sugar, caffeine, alcohol, all bad for your hormones. So, try to minimize the use of that. Exercise is really good for your hormones, good for your health. Like I know sometimes we don't want to exercise. I hate exercising personally, but I do it. I force myself to as
Yeah.
much as I can. And then sleep is really important. So good sleep hygiene, get enough sleep. And if you had to prioritize exercise or sleep, like waking up really early to go to the gym, like you should prioritize your sleep. Sleep is so crucial to health, and we have a hard time getting enough of it. I think like we don't, you should be going to bed at the same time every night. You should be practicing good hygiene, like not looking at your phone right before you go to bed. I have sleep supplements that help you sleep better, not wake up during the night. Magnesium is amazing to help you improve your sleep quality in general because I think a lot of women struggle with sleep, especially in perimenopause years. But my point is, we need to look at our whole lifestyle holistically and
Yes.
practice nutrition, stress reduction, exercise more, sleep right. And the reality is, we're not going to be able to do all those things perfect all the time. So they're going to ebb and flow. Sometimes when our diet's going to be great, and sometimes we're going to be working out, and sometimes it's not. And that's where supplements really come in because they can kind of hack your way to better health, also fill the gaps that you're slacking on. Like we can't all do everything perfect. Like we're not going to all get exactly the diet, the nutrients we want from our diet at all times. So supplementing, it's called supplementing for a reason. It helps you fill in those gaps and supports you, and yeah, just really supports you on that journey of better health.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you said it. It has to be the care that we have for ourselves. It definitely has to be holistic, body, mind, and spirit or soul, you know. Otherwise, I mean, we then are unbalanced in those places because as human beings, those are our main elements. So it's key to really look at all of them, like what are we eating, how are we moving, as you said before, like kind of products are we consuming, but not also that, like what kind of media are we consuming, because that also affects our mental health and everything else. So seeing is an approach like that, I consider it's key for us to have a better health and well-being, definitely.
Yeah, I know it can feel overwhelming, all the things I just listed. That's like changing everything. But just like small changes can make a difference. And over time, you just want to try to have better habits and better rituals.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it takes time, right? As you're saying, yeah, it's overwhelming if you see it that way, but then it's like, okay, so what can you implement today that you really like attracts you to say, okay, I'm curious about this, and then implemented it into your life until it becomes a habit, and then keep shifting more things until you get
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
better.
why Yeah, that's why I created Ladywell is because hormonal health is so complicated and taking care of our hormones like feels overwhelming. And I
Yeah.
really wanted to simplify the process because when I was getting rid of my PMDD and fixing myself, I was taking like 20 tinctures a day. I was piecing together all these different formulas and it was overwhelming. And I think for any woman, you wouldn't be able to continue that forever, And
Yeah.
I wanted to simplify that process and create a formula, which is our daily hormone balance, which just takes so many different aspects of what a woman needs into one formula. So you only have to take one thing in the morning instead of like having to even think about like piecing together like these different things. Because it has herbs, adaptogens, vitamins, amino acids. So just like taking it, simplifying it into one thing, one stop shop, like bada bing, bada boom.
Oh, I love that because I mean, just to hearing about all these names of the different hormones and stuff, and then okay, like what is this for? What is that for? Yeah, it's kind of it's also overwhelming. So I love
Yeah, it's
that.
complicated. Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to make it easy.
Yeah, I love that you get to do that in your business, and then for us to, for you to, yeah, the kind of products that you offer. And before you share more about your business, about Ladywell, I would like to know what happens to our hormones post menopause, and how can we stay vibrant, energized, and balanced in our later years?
Yeah, after menopause, typically around age 50, though it varies, a woman's body undergoes significant hormonal changes. The ovaries stop producing eggs, and levels of key hormones, which estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, these decline dramatically.
Mhm.
And so your estrogen decreases. The most significant hormonal change during menopause is a drop in estrogen, and this can lead to hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, discomfort during sex, mood swings, bone density loss, increased risks of heart disease over time. Your progesterone decreases, and the drops will cause things like irregular sleep patterns, insomnia, increased anxiety and mood swings. Your testosterone will decrease, so you reduce libido and just sexual satisfaction in general.
Mhm.
So even though these changes are inevitable, there are many ways to stay vibrant and energetic during these times. And the focus on maintaining overall health and boosting energy and promoting your overall well being should be like your number one focus. So you want to focus on nutrition, eat nutrient dense foods. So whole foods like fruit, vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats. That supports hormone health and overall vitality. So, yeah, good diet, know
Good
that,
diet.
but bringing in things like calcium and vitamin D are going to be crucial because your bone health is going to struggle and as your estrogen declines. And then foods like leafy greens and fortified plant milks and things like salmon, fatty fishes can really help support bone density as well. So you can get it through your food and through supplements. And then healthy fats, omega-3 fatty acid. You can take that supplement, or you can get it from salmon, chia seeds, and walnuts, and that will
Mhm.
support your heart health. You're really trying to maintain your vitality during this time and just extend that vitality. So it's just going to be about nurturing yourself with the right foods and supplements and making sure you're strength training, as I said, exercising regularly. Like aerobic exercise is good and enhancing your mobility. So your balance and mobility will start to decline. So just focusing on that.
Mhm.
And then I'm also going to say sleep well because sleep matters at all points in your life, even in
Yes.
menopause. Yes.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, herbal
agree.
support is great during this time as well. It'll help you manage your symptoms of menopause. Like black cohosh is a great herb, ashwagandha, vitex. So bringing in supplements is great too. And then if you feel like like during perimenopause years to menopause, if you just feel like you can't get a hold of these symptoms, they're just so overwhelming, even after you take supplements, there's always hormone replacement therapy, HRT, and using bioidentical hormones is a great option for you. You'll go to your doctor to get those, and I've heard that they work pretty quickly. I'm not on
Mhm.
them, but they work pretty quickly. And so it's a great option if you feel like that's right for you. And it's becoming more
Mhm.
popular. There's definitely a point in time where there was really bad press around HRT, but I think that's changing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, well, thank you for letting us
Yeah.
know all that. And yeah, so then talking about the supplements is where you come in. since you are the expert in here, um, can you share more about your business and how you help women and what kind of products do you offer?
Yeah, so we're really focused on helping women wherever they're at in their hormonal health journey. We have products that help you in midlife. We have PMS, PMDD, PCOS, like those type of struggles. We have fertility supplements. So our fertility and egg health is really great for boosting your fertility, improving your egg health. So you want to take that 90 days, at least 90 days in advance to affect the genetic material that's going to make up the eggs, because the egg's a 90-day maturation process. We have prenatals that you'll take before, during, and after pregnancy and those postpartum years. And then we have perimenopause supplements. So we're coming out with a perimeno supplement. Our daily hormone balance is great for women in perimenopause, and that's the foundational one. And then we're going to layer on another one to help with more symptoms of peri, because peri is like really complex and there's a lot of symptoms. So you'll be taking a daily hormone balance and the peri support as well to help you during that time. So meeting women where they're at different life stages. Our formulas are super comprehensive. As I said, I want to make it really easy. It's like you shouldn't have to be, there shouldn't be a lot of guesswork. You shouldn't have to be stacking a lot of supplements. A lot of brands out there want you to buy like several supplements and have to take a lot of different things because they make more money that way. And you'll buy one of them because it's the first one will be cheaper and stuff like that. But I'm trying to put a lot in my supplements so it's easier for you. And I really want to make it accessibly priced too. That's really important. And I would say when you're shopping for supplements, it's really important to find brands that are tested and clean, especially when we're talking about our hormones and endocrine disruptors. As I was saying, you don't want to introduce those into your body. So I always, our supplements are always very tested, and we use glass jars, so not plastic. A lot of, we don't cut corners where it matters. And our formulas are all holistically formulated by a team of diverse doctors. So we really bridge the gap of Eastern and Western medicine.
Oh, I
And
love
that's
that.
really a differentiator and really important to me because there's such wisdom in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, and that we bring that into our formulations and just look at formulating from a lot of different perspectives. Bringing in fertility experts when we're creating fertility formulas, and perimenopause experts when they're creating peri formulas. So our formulas are very smart and well put together.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah, I love that. Awesome. And I know you said you want to offer a discount code for our audience.
Yes, and you can find us, our website's getladywell.com, and I made a discount code for 20% off all supplements for your audience, Butterfly 20. So you can go to our website and type that in, you'll get 20% off. And then, as I was saying, we're all about education. We need to know more about our hormones, our bodies, our cycles, how to take care of them, what to do. So you can follow us on social media. Our handle is Get Ladywell. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the places. And follow us there to get tips and just educational content around your hormones.
Mm, yeah, thank you. I'm gonna share all the links in the note shows. And just before we close, I always ask these questions to all my guests. I would like to know which is a pleasure that you enjoy a lot in your life.
Yeah, I'm a busy mom. I have an 18-month-old and a 4-month-old. So I would say my
Wow.
pleasure is being my kids. But, if I was going to say something more selfish, it's just like that moment before bed. I lay in bed, I put my magnesium spray on my feet, and it's like that moment of self-care. Sometimes I'm eating some dark chocolate during that moment right before I go to
Mm,
bed. But there's like, I get like 5 minutes in the evening to myself after I put my kids to bed. It's like very brief,
yeah.
but I have my ritual and I love it. So magnesium helps me sleep, and it just feels like nurturing. I love it.
Yeah. What a beautiful practice. Yeah, and a good, yeah, good to finish to end the day to like taking care of yourself, which is the main thing that we gotta do. And then more you that you have little kids. When I don't have kids, but I know how moms can get like crazy the whole day. So it's good that you take that little pleasure pause for yourself before going to sleep.
Yes.
Yes.
Set me up
Ashley,
for a good morning the next day.
yeah, exactly. Uh, well, thank you so much for being here, Ashley. I really appreciate your time, your knowledge, your wisdom, and I really hope that this interview can help and inspire a lot of women to know more about themselves, about their cycles, about their hormones, to live better lives. Would you like to add something else?
Yeah, I think it's just the more we know about our bodies, the more empowered we'll be. And the knowledge is power. So if you understand your cycle, you'll be better equipped to avoid disease later in life and avoid these hormonal imbalances, which will bring you down and get in the way of living your best life. And there are solutions out there that are natural solutions. And while it might be hard to find, they're there. So I'm here for you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning into Midlife Butterfly. If this episode lit a spark in you, hit that subscribe or follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you love to listen, so you'll never miss the magic. If you're feeling generous, drop a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps this empowering content reach more souls ready to transform their lives. And don't forget to take a photo of you while listening and share it on your socials. You can tag me at KenAsYou so I can celebrate you and your expansion. Until next time, keep spreading those wings and living in joy, growth, and pleasure.